that is the right cost that they should use, whereby they will set this cost as the standard cost per unit for every product. So for every product, yeah, when they do the protection. So we will go through in detail. Of course, when you set the standard costing, definitely your standard cost will not same as the actual cost. Will not same as the actual cost. There will be a deviation as compared to your actual cost. For sure, this will happen. So when this happens, that will be something we call variance, or so-called a discrepancy in terms of the price, in terms of the usage, so and so forth. So this will happen for sure. That's very common when we start to use the standard costing. Yeah. So what we are going to study today, chapter 11, standard cost and variance, is that we are going to analyze the details of each component that we have studied yesterday, the price, the labor, plus the fixed and the variable manufacturing overheads. Yeah, these are the mainly three components that usually the standard cost is set in large corporations. Usually they will use the standard cost as the way to produce the budget also, as the way to produce their annual budget also. Yeah. Why my screen is not moving? Okay. Okay. Standard cost and budget. Standard cost is the cost that management believe should be incurred. Sorry. Standard cost is the cost management believe should be incurred to produce a product or service under anticipated conditions. So that means that standard cost, when the management set up the standard cost for a particular product, example, the product is the marker pen, they have taken into considerations for all the factors like possible losses of the raw material, machine downtime. There's something they will take into consideration when they set out the standard price or standard cost for a particular product. In this case, we just say a marker pen. So that's the way a standard is being set out. That is the direction the management, the company feel that for a marker pen, the cost should be this cost. So that's the reason they say often refer to cost of a single unit. So when we say standard cost, we always say it's a single unit of standard cost. What is the standard cost of a marker pen? What's the standard cost of a plastic bag? Things like that, yeah. So budgeted cost is what is the difference between standard cost and budgeted cost? If you look at the two, there's not much difference between them. If you study in the first chapter, we say the management accounting use many tools in order for them to control and monitor the performance of a particular period or particular department or division. So obviously you can see in here, in this example, both are same. Standard cost and budgeted cost are same. But budgeted cost, usually what happens is that is refer to the total cost of a particular department or a particular production division. So we always say, what's the total budget for this month? We never say what's the total standard cost or standard cost for this month, right? The right word we always use the what is the budget cost? What's the budgeted cost for your department? Yeah, that's what we say. What's the total budget for your department? So how we make up the total budget for a particular department usually is the make up of the standard cost, standard unit cost of a particular product times the number of the standard quantity that we plan to produce. And after we do the computer calculation, we add up all the material, labor, and the overhead absorption. That's how we come up with the total cost for a particular department. And of course, we never miss out the general admin and the selling and distribution expenses. So that's how we build up a budgeted cost for a particular department. So that means we can just simply say standard cost is more emphasized on a particular product unit, whereas budget is a budget for a particular department, the total budget for a department or the total budget for a company as a whole for the particular year. That is the main differences. Yeah. So you can see in this example, if you see this example here, standard cost and budget. So you can see in this standard cost per unit. In this example, just to brief you what is it the main difference between the standard cost and the budget. Yeah, the direct material is the £2 at $5 per pound. So it's the tank, 2 times 5. Simple, that's the material used. That means it's a let's say it's 2 kg lah, since there 2 kg times 5, because it's $5 per kg is tank. Labor is 3 hours times 10, so it's $30. So the manufacturing overhead is $5 per labor hour. So 5 times 3. 1 labor hour is $5 for the overhead to be applied or to be assigned. So they use the direct labor as their allocation base. So 5 times 3 will get 15. So that's how they build up the standard cost per unit for a marker pen. In this example, I just put marker pen. So a marker pen, the standard cost is $55 per marker pen. Just one example, yeah. So if material budget indicate purchase of £5,000, so let's say we purchase 5,000 pounds of material. Standard cost is 25,000, which is correct lah. Because if you buy 5,000 pounds, you times $5 per pound, so you will get 25,000. If labor budget is prepared for 1,000 units, produce 3,000 labor hours are included in total. That's very correct. If you have 3,000 hours, so what happens that you produce 1,000 units, so your total labor is 3,000 labor hours times 1,000 units. There's a 3 times 1,000, you get 30,000. So in the sense that what we mean by budget here, material budget. Material budget is built out of the total number of units you want to produce times the standard cost per unit. For the labor, it's the same. The number of units you want to produce times the labor rate per hour. This is how we mean by budget and standard comparison. So standard is more into a unit basis, whereas a budget is the total times the unit, standard cost per unit. So I hope you can make the differentiation between what is the meaning of standard cost and the budget already from here. This is just one example to explain to you. Yeah. Just give me a second. Why it's not moving? Okay. We just go to this one, the explanation we download from the portal. Okay, when we think of companies that use standard costing, manufacturing companies such as Boeing and General Motors and chemical producers such as Dow Chemical come to mind. Those are the big companies, GM, Boeing, or the aircraft manufacturer. Those are big company in terms of chemical producing. They also use the standard costing. But even a company in the food services industry use the standard costing. So in this example, the Starbucks also use standard costing to control the cost of the beans in its roasting operations. It means, of course, all the coffee beans need to be roasted lah. So beans lost weight in the roasting process because water is evaporated from them, of course lah. So this will reduce the number of the beans roasted lah. So the company sets a standard weight loss and compare that to the actual loss in weight for a batch of roasted beans. That's to say very simple lah. So when you go to buy the Starbucks coffee, all the coffee, the beans need to be roasted. So they already take into consideration what should be the standard weight loss. In this case, they take into consideration already before they build up the standard cost for the roasted beans. Yeah. So this is one example that all these big corporations also use standard costing. Yeah. Okay, how to develop a standard costing? Because standard costing is different from actual costing. Because if you are working in most of the corporations, if you don't use standard costing, the actual costing is always the basis for you to build whatever budget or whatever plan you want, you see. But in some of the big corporations, they will prefer to use standard costing because they believe that standard costing is the more right measurement of the performance for the particular department or division. So this is how they want to develop of a standard cost system. So standard quantity and price for material may be specified. So definitely in the standard costing process, there are the three main components we need to build. Is the raw mat, of course, and labor plus the overhead. So material is one of them. So they will do the study. Of course, they will get the engineer to do the study. What kind of material required to produce the product, or the procurement manager lah. So a lot of planning needs to be done, and they will use the recipe or the formula. Example, like if you are blending the chemicals to produce preservative, you know, there will be a fixed formula for you to use. Even you produce the detergent, whatever, the formula is there. You must mix with the right formula, and also you must take into consideration whatever losses that might happen during the processes. Yeah, by time and the motion study means that even producing this product A, how much labor we need, labor hours we need, how many workers we need, so how fast we can produce all this. They will do a study. Implies this provided by supplier. This is also one of the major reference we can get in order to build our standard cost. So we always get all the pricing list from the supplier. That is the offer price for a particular raw material. Then from there we know what should be the right price to set the standard. Standard quantity and rate for direct labor may be specified. So really explain about the material. Now we come to the labor. By time and motion study, as usual, to produce a product, we must know how much minutes or how much time we need to spend in order to make this product to a finished good through analysis of past data. So past data is always one of the reference when we do the standard costing, because we know how the behavior of the past data, whether this number of hours required will change, move too much or not. And also we need to take into consideration for any changes, any factors or any external factors that will affect the performance or the production of this product. By management expectations of rates to be paid, it means that the management definitely is the one who also set how much the pay rate for each labor. This is very true. You know, before we join a company, the management will tell you, look, this is our offer pay to you. So whether you like to take it or not, if you are okay, then we will give you the letter offer for you to join our company. So that's what the management feel that this should be the rate we are going to pay for this product. Yeah. In contrast, that set labor rates. So sometimes also in contrast means that they will also compare for any exceptional cases, you know, before they set the labor rate. They will always counter check, or maybe they will do a check with other competitors, things like that. Yeah, not only follow the conventional way. Okay. So then we come to the overhead. Standard cost for overhead involve procedures similar to those used to develop predetermined overhead rates. That means before we start to build our standard cost, also we are going to also come up with a standard overhead absorption rate. We call it SOAR. That means let's say we already get all the cost pool, for the indirect costs for the production, like example like rent, electricity, insurance, quick land assessment. You know, we really get all the data. We pull the cost together already. So we also have to do the budgeted amount of production that is come from the production manager. You know, so we will use the total overhead cost. We divide by the estimated or budgeted number of production units. Then this how we get the $5, example $5 per unit for the overhead absorption rate. You see, so you can see that this is one of the meaning of the predetermined. So something has to be done in advance already when we prepare the standard cost. Yeah, when we prepare the standard cost. So when we do the standard cost, we also need to take into consideration is that ideal standard assume that no obstacles in production process no breakdown in equipment, no defect in materials, you see. Emphasize a perfect protection environment. Even like if in this situation is like even the engineer who is doing the setting the standard, they will say we want to have an ideal standard. We want to have an ideal standard because they always emphasize on the perfection as an engineer lah. But sometimes it's not achievable. You see, to be fair to the person handle or the manager handle the production department, there's no perfection in terms of ideal standard. You see, we cannot guarantee there is no breakdown in terms of the in terms of the equipment, or there is no defect in terms of material. You see, so ideal standard is very unlikely to be used when we come to development of standard cost. Yeah, so you get some idea like any standard we set for any company, there is no such thing called ideal standard. Yeah, there's no perfect condition. Attainable standards take into account possible circumstances that could lead to cost greater than ideal. It allows for downtime, inefficiencies, and wastage. So what does it mean is that ideal standard is something not achievable, not possible. There's no perfect conditions. Sometimes the workers will not turn up, report to work for 3 days because of accident on the road, you see. So we have to take into consideration all these possible things that will happen, you see. A machine that's running 24 hours every day also can face some downtime due to some old part, that need to replace. So we take the data, we do the study, we think that the machine will run, but also the machine also need to tolerate for 5% downtime. And also we say the workers also maybe as 5%, no attendance. We take into consideration. We also think that raw maybe material we buy another 1%, defect. So we take into consideration all this. Then we build out the attainable standard. Yeah, attainable standards. So development of standard cost, ideal standard developed under the assumption that no obstacles will be encountered. That means perfect condition. Ideal standard may not be useful for planning purposes, especially if defect and breakdown are a fact of life. That's very true. There's no such thing called perfect condition. You see, in life, some minor things will happen. Defect will happen, breakdown will happen. This is very normal way of life. You see, no one is perfect. You see, yeah. I said God, so you should say that. So attainable standard is that take into account possibility of a variety of circumstances that may lead to cost greater than ideal. So in a standard setting, attainable standard is the one we will always use because we had to take into consideration the possible wastages, inefficiency and things like that. So you can see that this is the one we always use, yeah, attainable standards. So I think you by going through the 4 slides, you already know the standard we set is obviously attainable standard. That standard that management feel that it should be achieved by the employees or by the department or by the head of department of the company. Because after they take into consideration all the possible wastage and losses or the efficiency of the employees. Yeah. Okay. What is the primary benefit of a standard costing system? So after we study, we spend so much time to set the standard costing. What is the main advantage? The main advantage of doing a standard costing. First, we record cost at what should have been incurred. That is the actual costing. Yeah, it records cost at what should have been incurred. That should be the actual costing. It allows a comparison of differences between actual and standard cost. That means always compare actual versus the standard cost. It is easy to implement, which is not true. C is contradict to the standard costing, yeah, because the easiest way to implement actually is the actual costing, you see, because all the data is available to you already, compared to standard costing, whereby you need to do engineering study, you need to do a machine study, and also some motion study, things like that. It is inexpensive and easy to use. It is not true at all. This is not a cheap tool to use, you see. And then If you say easy to use, later we go through all the variance analysis. You understand this is not easy to use. If you don't study standard costing, you'll get confused. What is this all about? All the terminology we're going to use it later on. Yeah. So for this exercise, definitely you see that actual costing is not right, and this is the one we want to go into explore again. It allows a comparison of differences between actual and standard cost. Okay, what does it mean? Why we do a standard cost? Because we do a standard cost, we believe that that should be the right cost, the accurate cost to produce a particular product. So let's say in this example, the particular product is the iPhone. So producing the iPhone, the management believe producing the iPhone, it should be 3,000 per iPhone. In this example, 3,000 per iPhone. But and now come out the actual cost incurred today for the iPhone is 3,005. So that is the happening of the discrepancy already. That means you overspend than what you set and what you believe should be the right cost to use, should be the right standard cost to use. So that will be a 500 overspend on every iPhone you produce. So that's the reason we set standard. Why we set standard? We know that there should be the something we can achieve, attainable, when everything under the normal circumstances, So in this example, it's B lah. Obviously, we have to compare what is the standard versus the actual. Yeah, standard versus the actual. We go to example again. Which of the following is not a way to develop a standard cost? When we say to develop a standard cost, it means attainable standard cost. Okay, by using a fixed rate that is higher every period. That means we set the standard higher than the actual cost lah. In this example, we set the standard higher than the actual cost. By performing time and motion study. By performing time and motion study, that means we carry out study, how much time need, and what are the actions required in order to produce a product lah. By analyzing historical data, that means we gather all the suppliers' purchase data from the procurement manager in order to know what is the historical or the past data. And then by using what is specified in engineering plans, that means what engineer has laid down all the steps to produce this machine. Every step is laid down. So what is being done, what is being put inside the production is all specified by the engineers already. So you can see that definitely A is not the answer lah. You cannot set a standard that is always higher than the actual. That's not very right lah. Yeah, because if you do that, you will always give a wrong impression to the management. You see, because you always set a good standard for the company. That's very wrong, I see. So the answer is definitely A already lah. Yeah. So you can look at this why the standard costing was developed in the very beginning. The first detailed description of standard costing came in 1908. It is about 100 years already, 100 years plus already lah. When John, an American accountant, published a paper in the journal Accountancy on a standard cost system for a shoe factory. This is how it started, the standard costing. Yeah, it happened in the shoe factory. He suggested that the leather shoes to make shoes should be recorded at a proper cost. That time he also not really sure lah. He just said something called a proper cost lah. Yeah, his terms for standard cost. He also noted that the variance between proper cost, that is actually a standard cost lah. Yeah, and actual cost could be due to differences between the standard price and actual price of dollar, or to differences between the standard quantity. That means in this summary, he say it could be due to the price lah. The price we use to produce the dollar shoe. Maybe it's the price we purchase the material, or maybe it's the quantity we use to purchase this material. The time he only emphasize on the price of the material yet lah. You haven't really go into study the labor yet lah. That's what the first it comes. Yeah. So after we do the standard, there is always a comparison. Otherwise, There's no point we set a standard. We set out a tool that cannot be used for any purpose. That means we just set standard, but we don't compare. When we just do as what we use it as a tool to recording, then it serves no purpose. The reason we do a standard cost is that we always want to compare what is a standard cost for a product we produce versus the actual cost incurred in order to produce that product. So that's important that once this is done, you will notice that there's something called a variance analysis. A variance analysis means that it's the differences between the actual cost versus the standard cost. So standard cost variance is the difference between a standard and an actual cost. That means it's a standard you set versus the actual cost that has incurred or that's produced the product. Yeah, we will go into very detail when we study variance analysis, because assignment test very thorough. Almost test you all the variance analysis, so you try to understand it when I go through you the variance, and I can assure you can answer the assignment easily. You can get it done very fast. Yeah, variance analysis break down the differences between standard and actual cost into two components. So just always remember, whatever variance we study here, we always emphasize on price and quantity. That's very true. Why I say very true is very easy, because when we set out the standard costing, what we always gather is the quantity to produce and what is the price for that quantity. Let's say we say the standard quantity to produce for product A is 1,000, and the price for that 1,000 is $2. So the standard is 2,000. The standard is 2,000. The cost to produce product A. That's the reason always only emphasize on the price and the quantity. That's the main comparison. Just remember these two. When you do your assignment, remember always emphasize on these two. Even the material, the labor, the overhead also emphasize on these two. Yeah. Let's go to the three major standard cost setting. I think the rest, like sales and distribution, general admin, those are not really important when it comes to standard setting, you see, because those are not fluctuate so much over the years, you see. Those are very likely is the more in the behavior, the cost is more on the fixed side. I mean, it's a fixed cost in the long run. But unlike the raw material, labor or manufacturing, those are fluctuate when come to inflation, or when come to cases like lately the cases like COVID, all this will cause increase in the raw material cost because of the bottleneck in the logistic industry, you see. So all this will cause the shoot out of the raw material cost, things like that. So we will focus on general approach to variance analysis. So you just have to remember there are three major variants we will study. Direct material variance, as we said before just now, always emphasize on these two when we do the variance analysis. Price and quantity, price and quantity. So after you set the standard already, you will definitely want to compare your standard against the actual. How you compare it? You always compare the price and the quantity. That means the price, the unit price of a standard compared to the unit price of the actual. The unit price of the standard compared to the unit price of the actual. Yeah, this is a simple comparison. So just example, like you say, the price of a kilo of the let's say vegetable is standard you said is $1. But when you purchase the veggie, the price is 120. So this is a comparison. You already have a higher actual price already, because it's $1.20 already. You are already 20% higher than the standard set. It could be due to the reason of the higher cost as a result of the logistic cost increase, things like that. Yeah. Even the quantity. Let's say you buy this veggie, you say I need to use 1,000 in order to produce my final product, 1,000 kg. But end up your actual quantity is 1,003 kg. So that means that you already use a higher material in order to produce the product compared to the standard you set. What's the reason behind it? It could be due to you are buying a cheaper material. You see, you're buying a cheaper material, but the quality is not so good. So when the quality is not good, the material, of course, there will be more rejects in the processes. That means more items, more final product is going to be thrown as a result of you buying a more inferior kind of raw mat from the supplier. You see, because you want to enjoy the lower price. You see, yeah. So even the direct labor variances, labor sometimes we can say the rate in the factory, in a manufacturing factory. As I said before in the yesterday sharing, labor in the old days is always use the rate how much hour, how much dollar per hour we pay you. But in the new process over the years, the labor cost also more or less it become fixed already I mean in the factory nowadays also they will say I will pay you 2,000 per month. And plus your overtime if you looking for more hours, I will pay you more. But of course, you definitely know there's a rate inside there. Only you don't see that because otherwise they were not able to pay you overtime. See, when they pay you overtime, definitely they already use your total salary 2,000. They are dividing by the total number of hours for the working day. So they how they come up with the rate apply in order to pay you OT rate. You see. So that's why they say it's the labor rate variance. Means that let's say the rate for the standard is $3 per hour. You work for $3 per hour. But when come to the actual is $2.50 per hour. That means get a cheaper labor as compared to the standard set. Yeah. So the labor efficiency variance. So this one I try to explain to you is that efficiency means that if you produce product A, you set a standard is 100 hours to complete product A, but you take about 1,002 hours to complete. That means you are not efficient. You are taking another extra 200 hours in order to complete the product A. You're not efficient. You're not fast enough, or you're not focused to produce product A. Yeah. It could be due to attendance issue. You're sick. You're taking MC medical leave, things like that. It happens. Yeah. So same thing. Manufacturing overhead variance. When we come to the volume variance, means that the production volume variance. It means what we project to produce the quantity compared to the flexible budget we set. The flexible budget what we want to produce. The volume variance. Then this is a controllable overhead variance. This is a comparison between the flexible budget we set. I will explain to you what's the flexible budget later on. It's a budget that will take into consideration for the changes in the level of production. That means you produce 10,000 budget, 10,000 unit budget. You also need to put a flexible quantity produced. That means you could also need to do about 8,000, 12,000, and all the costs for 8,000 will change also, especially the variable cost will change. Fixed costs will remain, but that's the kind of budget, we call it a flexible budget. It means you have to take into consideration for the changes in the production volume because the actual volume might change, may not follow exactly your budgeted volume, you see. That's why we do a flexible budget. So the controllable overhead variance is actually the comparison between your actual overhead, the actual you already paid for the overhead, compared to the flexible budget overhead. It means something you already set for that budget in the taking into consideration what's the actual production. Yeah. So let's go through this very simple summary of the variance. Look at this because you were able to attend the assignment question on this very simple and easy to understand summary diagram. You see, diagram. As we said before, variance we mainly study is the price variance and the quantity variance. These are the two major components in the three major variance: material, price, and overhead. Yeah. So what does it mean by actual quantity? AQ is the actual quantity. Actual quantity, it can be the actual quantity you purchase or actual quantity you use in the production. So you have to differentiate this one. You see, if you purchase a raw material, usually it refers to the actual quantity you purchase. But if you use the raw material for the production, it's the actual quantity used for production. Yeah. So you have to apply correctly when you attend the assignment. Yeah. Actual price is the price that you pay lah. You pay for buying the material. Actual price. Yeah. So actual cost, straightforward. Yeah. Actual cost is the actual quantity times the actual price. Okay. Actual quantity times the actual price. So the second one is the actual quantity at standard price. So what we compare? What is the reason we compare this way? It's because very easy, as I said before just now, we always compare the price between the actual versus the standard. Between the actual versus the standard. So what is the meaning of price variance? Price variance is the actual price minus the standard price we set times the actual quantity we purchase or we use in the production. We purchase from the supplier or we use it in the production. Yeah. So in this case, you can see that these two is the price comparison. We always compare the actual quantity times actual price, actual quantity times standard price. So in summary form, in the mathematical form, you can see the two left side is the same, right? It's the same. It's the same, right? So what we can do is that is the actual price you purchase for the raw material or whatever minus the standard price, then you times the actual quantity. Yeah, you times the actual quantity. Actual price, you minus the standard price, you times the actual quantity. That is the simplified calculation when it comes to price variance. Because we really say price variance is the comparison between the actual price minus the standard price. Yeah. So we come to the quantity variance. We always set a standard quantity lah. Let's say to produce a marker pen. You know what is the standard quantity of the ink I need? Of course, the marker pen, the main component is the ink lah, plus the very thin kind of metal or aluminum metal lah. Yeah. So standard quantity we must set. How many liter of the inks I need to put to produce a marker pen, you see? So that's the standard quantity. But you also know that you have the actual quantity you use already. So when it comes to quantity, there is always the comparison between the actual quantity you use to produce a marker pen minus what should be the standard quantity you already calculated in advance to produce a marker pen. And then, of course, we must always remember, always use the standard price lah, because to make the comparison, the standard price is the price you believe is the correct price. Yeah. So in this denomination simplified is that you have the same two standard price here. You only can have to take one only. So what you do is that you use the actual quantity minus the standard quantity. You times the standard price. So simplify it. You apply this to the assignment also. If you want to show a full calculation, it's nothing wrong. It's also okay, acceptable. It's up to you. How are you going to present your answer in the question number 1 in your assignment? Yeah. So as you see, it's a standard quantity allowed for actual output SQ. That is the quantity management already set, and then at the standard price lah. Yeah. So it's just a summary of the table already. I hope you will not get lost, because later we go to material price variance, labor variance, and overhead. You will see more and more lah. Yeah. Okay. Material variance, it can be the material price variance. It's the difference between the actual price per unit of material and the standard price per unit of material. So it's very easy. Like if you say, example, buy a veggie, see? So the actual price of the veggie you buy is $1.20. and the standard price you set is $1. So what to do is that you already buy at a higher price and extra 20 cents in this case. So you overspend 20 cents. In case you buy about let's say 1,000 kg in order to produce your next product, you will overspend 200 as compared to your standard. Yeah. So this measurement, why is it important, is because let's say you are buying at 120 now. Compare the standard you set in the early of the year. So you already overspend 200. Then you need to know what's the reason you overspend. You spend 200. You see, it could be due to the increase in the price of the raw material, or it could be due to any other reason that the management of the company will need to do some study lah. Need to some study, yeah. So the next is the material quantity variance. It's a difference between the actual quantity of material used. That means to produce final product A, you set a standard of 1,000. Set a standard 1,000 vg, 1,000 kg lah, vg. So, but the actual quantity material used is 1,001 kg. So now you use the 1,001 kg material vg to produce the final product, and the standard quantity of material allowed. That means you allow only 1,000 kg for the vg to produce the final product A, but now you use up 1,001 kg. You overuse by extra 100 kg. So in other words, you overuse the vg by another 100 kg already. Yeah, 100 kg. So it's very unfavorable, which is overspend the cost again. So if you look at this situation, you will try to identify why is the reason I overuse my vg by another 100 kg lah. So that's how you need to explain in the assignment. It could be due to you are getting a cheaper vg from another supplier in order to save money for the company. You see, but you also cost the more vg to be used because of the inferior quality you buy lah. That's the reason. You see, those are things we explain in the assignment. Now let's go to the first material variance. Material variance is the first one, whereby this is the first one we always set in the standard costing. It's a very easy to understand. Material is the actual cost of material purchase. So you have to remember this one when we buy the material at the time. So it's the actual quantity purchase times the actual price. That means the actual material cost minus the actual quantity purchase times standard price. Actual quantity at standard price. So it's the actual quantity purchase times actual price minus actual quantity purchase times standard price. So you can see that this is the repeat on the left hand side. So to simplify it, just use the actual price minus standard price times actual quantity. Yeah, simple as that. Purchase. So this is the summary of the computation for price variance. That means the actual price compared to the standard price times the number of the quantity for the raw material you purchase. Yeah. So the second is the quantity variance. That means how many units you purchase for the raw material. How many units you purchase for the raw material. So in this example, we can see this is not purchase. My apologies. This is the use. Sorry for that. Quantity variance, the use. Yeah, how many quantity you use for the production of the finished product. Yeah, let's say to produce a finished product, the standard quantity allowed is 1,000, but you use up 1,001. So there is always a comparison already in this case. In this case, there's always a comparison. So what happens is that you can see here, this is repeating on the left hand side. So it's actually the actual quantity used minus the standard quantity allowed times the standard price. So there's the difference when you do the question in the assignment. Here is the purchase mentioned. And here is the use in the production. Yeah, here's the use in the production. So it's the actual quantity minus the standard quantity times the standard price. It's simplified computation for the quantity variance. So you can go through here as this all this note explain. All this summary here. Yeah. We just repeat the same example here, but we put it into numbers easy lah, huh? So you can see we try to put it into numbers for better illustration. You can look at the material price variance. Material price variance, as we said before, is the actual price minus standard price times actual quantity purchased. So let's say go to this example. Actual price, let's say we say it's $8 ringgit lah, $8 or 8 ringgit, but the standard price is $9 or 9 ringgit. So in this case, you can see that the actual quantity we purchase is 1,000. We purchase here we say we purchase is 1,000. So you can see that you spend less than the standard set lah. So you buy at the ringgit Malaysia 8, but your standard you set is 9 ringgit. So what happened that you buy at the cheaper already. You buy at the cheaper. So you have a saving of 1 ringgit times 1,000 unit. So that means that you buy 1,000 unit, you save the company ringgit Malaysia 1,000. So you have something a new word called favorable lah, or we call it in a more simple term is a positive variance or favorable variance lah. Yeah. Sometimes they always use the word positive or negative, or sometimes they use the word adverse, whatever use is used, but most commonly use the favorable or the unfavorable lah. That means it's good lah. It's a good sign. It's a good sign whereby you buy at the cheaper. You buy at the cheaper. Yeah. And then this one is another case of the material quantity variance. It means the quantity you use for the production of the product A. Product A is just example only in this case. So it's the actual quantity. We go back to here again. Actual quantity minus the standard quantity times the standard price. Yeah. So in this case, say actual quantity you buy, you know, is here, or you use same. In this example, we assume it's the same. You use also same 1,000, but you assume that the standard we set is 900 units. 900 units. And then you already know your standard price in here is 9 ringgit. So 1,000 minus 900 times 9 ringgit, you have the 900 is the unfavorable variance. Why is it unfavorable variance? It's because you set the standard to produce this product is 900 units, but you actually use up 1,000 in order to produce this product A. So that's to say you overspend by another 100 unit at the price of 9 ringgit. So you can see that you overspend already lah. So in this overall, you combine, you can see that you still make a gain, in terms of the material. You see, in terms of the material, you see, 1,000 you save, but 900 you overspend, you still save 100. Yeah, save 100. Just go to another example, because we go through few examples is to make sure that you get familiar lah. When you attend this assignment, you can easily get it done. You don't have to find the further answer for it already, because all the answer you can find it from this explanation here already. So material variance again, standard for one unit, yeah, production of 1 unit is the 400 pounds at $10 per pound. That means 400 quantity is 400 at the price of 10. Material purchase is 200 at 9.9 per pound. Material use is 181,000 pounds to produce 450 units. So in this case, you look at the thing, they give you quantity produced already here, 450 units. Yeah, they also tell you how much they purchased at what price. It's all given. They purchase at 200 at this price, but they use for production is 181 to produce 450 units. Yeah. And to produce 1 unit, you need 400 pounds. So to produce 450 units, you need to use 450 times 400 pounds. Only you can get the total pounds to use. Total pounds to use. Okay, that means the kg lah, the number of kg. Okay, let's go to the material price variance again. So we can see the actual material cost is in here already given to you. 200 pounds times 9.9. So the total is 1.98 million. 200 pounds times 9.9. Actual quantity purchased P times actual price. Actual quantity purchased times actual price. Yeah. So it's 200 pounds times 9.9. You will get 1.98 million. You get 1.98 million. But how about the standard cost, the standard price for actual quantity purchased? Standard price for actual quantity purchased is the actual quantity times standard price. Go back to this to recap again. It's in here. It's in here. Actual quantity times standard price. So your actual quantity you buy is 200 pounds. What's the standard price in this example? The standard price in this example is that $10 per pound. They given to you already. They given you already. So it's 200 times 10, you get 2 million. So you can see that standard set to you is $10 per pound. But the actual you spend is 9.9 per pound. So you are actually make a savings or favorable variance for the company because you are buying the material at a lower price compared to the standard set by the management. Yeah, set by the management. You can see that actual price minus standard price times actual quantity. Summary of this part lah. This one, actual price minus standard price times actual quantity purchase. Yeah, P, yeah, purchase. So favorable lah, as usual lah, because you set the standard 2 million, but you spend the actual purchase of the material is 1.98 million. So you save 20,000, favorable variance for the company. Yeah. So this side, whether you use positive or negative, it doesn't matter lah. But you don't put this wrong lah. When you put this wrong in your assignment, you put this side like this in your assignment, but you put unfavorable, then I cannot give you a mark already lah. Sorry to say lah, because you really wrongly described wrongly already. So I will have to give a minus on this word lah. This wrong description already. Yeah, you can put favorable. This side is okay. Whether you want to put a positive or you want to put a kurungan like that, open bracket or cross bracket is okay. But you can put the word favorable or unfavorable to make sure that means that you understand. You understand this 2 million standard minus 1.8 million is a saving, a favorable variance for the material price for the company. Yeah. So the second we always compare is the quantity variance. Quantity variance is the actual quantity used in the production, minus the standard quantity allowed for the production. Standard quantity allowed for the production. Of course, it's times the standard price lah. Here lah, actual quantity used for production minus standard quantity allowed for production times standard price. So go back to here. So the actual quantity used for production is 2 million. So 200,000 pounds times 10 is 2 million. What is the standard quantity allowed? Okay, here. How do we get this 180,000? When we say standard quantity is quantity produced at the standard kg or pounds per unit. So produce 450 units. 1 unit you need 400 pounds. So it's 450 times 400, you get 180,000. 180,000, yeah? That's the standard you need in order to produce 450 units. The standard quantity you need times $10, the standard price. So you get 1.8 million. So you will have definitely make a comparison. Here is the actual quantity you use. Here is the purchase. So you have to make a difference. Yeah? Here's the use. You use 181,000 quantity for the production at the standard price of 10. So you can compare now. You use up 181 compared to the standard set of 180. Actually, you overuse the chemical by 1,000 already. You overuse the chemical or the material by 1,000. In this case, we just say maybe it's a chemical production company. So 1,000, you extra use 1.81 million in total you use, but the standard allowed is 1.8 million. So obviously you use the 1.81 million, you minus 1.8 million, you will get 1,000 extra, spend more compared to allowed. So this word is important. Whether you want to put a negative, positive is okay, but this unbearable means you are right lah, because you overspend as compared to the standard allowed. This the material quantity variance. So you just have to remember. You have to remember is that there is the purchase, there is the use. Yeah. One is the purchase from the supplier. One is the material use in the production. Yeah. Material use in the production. Okay, after we do the material variance, this is not in the PPT presentation in our portal. This I added for you lah. So for you to attend your assignment question later on, because the question was asked you the material cost variance. What does it mean by material cost variance? Material cost variance is the combination of direct material price variance use. In this example, it's the use, and the direct material usage, I should say quantity variance lah. You can say quantity variance in this example also can, no issue lah. Actually, it's the quantity variance. Yeah, quantity variance. Same, they are referring to the same thing. Yeah, usage and the quantity variance the same thing. You just have to remember. Sometimes they don't call it cost variance lah. Just remember, they just say material variance. So it's very easy. When you say material variance, it's actually is the combination of the price. This one price plus the quantity. But the price is not for the price purchase. It's the price for the usage of the quantity of the raw material. It's not a price you purchase, but the price you use for the production. Then you will come up with the total material cost variance already. Yeah. What is the simple combined formula for the cost variance? Is the standard quantity for actual output. That means you already set the standard already, times standard price. That's the typo error. Sorry for that. Let me change. Okay, now it's good. Sorry for that. Minus the actual quantity used times actual price. So it's very easy. It's the standard quantity for actual production times standard. That means it's the standard minus actual. Simple as that only for the production. Simple as understand. Standard minus actual for the production, which is very true lah. Yeah, in this example. So just go back to the example again. Standard quantity for actual output. Example 450 unit. How do I get the 450 unit? Let's say this one's a quantity produced. 450 unit. Then you need a 400 for a unit. 400 for a unit. So it's 400 times 450. You will get this 180 lah. 180. Then your standard price in this example is 10. It's 10, yeah. So this is how you use 150 unit. Is the production you produce. Then this is the standard quantity you need for 1 unit. Then there's the standard price for 1 unit. And you minus the actual one. Actual one you know already. You this one actual quantity you use 180 pounds. You times actual the standard price at 10. But in this case, you have to use the actual price. You cannot use the standard price, yeah, because you are comparing the total difference between the standard and the actual. You're comparing these two already. But this one is changed to use. Use, not purchase, use. That's you have to use the 9.9. 9.9 actual price times the actual quantity. So you can see here is 8,001. You spend, definitely you spend less than the actual. That means you use standard at 1.8, but you only spend 1.791,900 per ruble. So remember, when you do this cost variant, you have to take the use, not the purchase. Yeah. Otherwise, you cannot compare. You will make the comparison wrong. You see, because you compare purchase, the quantity will definitely different compared to use. But the cost variant is a combination of the total price and quantity for a production. Yeah. So in this example, just to explain to you, a purchasing manager at a large Western manufacturing company recounted how he had identified a new material that will result in higher quality and cost saving for the company. That means the manager want to buy a better raw material because the higher quality. Of course, when it comes to higher quality, the price per unit will be higher. So a new material that will result in higher. However, the material will cost a bit more than the standard price of the current inferior material. Buying the new material will make the purchasing department look bad. Okay, just to explain to you, because this is one of the explanation you require. If you are the purchasing manager, you want to buying a better material, but this will look bad to you. You see, why you want to do that? Because very simple, if you buy a more expensive compared to the standard cost, this will cost you. This will cause a price variance to happen. So you will have a unfavorable price variance, and any savings you will go to the production department. That means you do something bad for you, but the good thing will go to the production department. That means the production manager. If you are the procurement manager, you want to save money. You buy you want to give a better quality of the material for the company, but you buy at a higher price. So every time you will have a material price variance, because now your material is higher than the standard set for the company. So are you going to do that or not? But if you think about it, there's a reason we do it, because when you buy a better quality material, of course your reject for the final product will reduce. So this will make a savings for the quantity variance in the production department. So overall, in this variance analysis, we not only study one side of the story. We always say we need to study the overall side of the picture in the company. You see, the overspend of the raw material, in this case, it could be a savings of the production quantity. That means you can produce more because you're using a better material already. So it could be a contrast between them. You see, a contrast between them. So let's go to one simple exercise. Data for chip use in the production of computer. So when you want to produce computer, you need to use computer chips. That's the memory, very powerful things that we must put in our laptop. Only we can use the laptop. So the standard set is 3 chips per computer. It means one computer they need to install 3 chips at the price of 6.5 per chip. So for 3 is 19.5. So the quantity purchase is 200 chips for a total of 1350. It means the 200 quantity purchase total is this price. So they will tell you what is the actual price per chip for the quantity purchase. Simple, you can just use 1350. You divide by 200, you already know what's the price per chip. The quantity used in this case is 122 chips for production of 40 units. So you can see that they tell you they use 122 chips for the production of 40 units. But 1 unit you need to use how many chips? 3 chips, right? So 40 units actually you need to use 120 chips. Simple as that, the standard you need the standard. So calculate the material price variance. It's very easy, right? Just now we say material price variance is the actual price minus the standard price times the actual quantity purchased. Actual price minus standard price times the actual quantity purchased. So in this case, you must start to guess where is the actual price. I cannot find the actual price. So the actual price is here already, 1350. Yeah, 1350 is the actual price. Then minus the standard price. So the standard price, where is the standard price? It's 6.5. They tell you already. 6.5 is the standard price. So you can see the answer here already. Actual price here. How they get the 6.75 is very easy. We use 1350 divided by 200. We will get the actual price per chip of 6.75. So 200 times 6.75, that is the actual price. Yeah, actual price. That means that's the one you spend to buy the computer chips. But the actual quantity at standard price, you buy 200 chips. The standard price given to you is 6.5. So it's 200 times 6.5 is 1,003. So what happened now? You can see that in the material price variance, you overspend by 50. Yeah, your standard set is 1,003, but you spend 1,350. So to summarize the formula again, is the actual price 6.75 minus standard price 6.5 times 200. So you will get 50 at the end, the answer. So this sign is leave it to you. If you want to put a negative, it's okay also. But provided you make sure you put the right word, unfavorable price variance. So if you put favorable price variance, that means you have a wrong understanding already, like this example. Because it cannot be favorable, very obvious already. Your actual purchase is 1350, but your standard given to you is 1,003. Always remember, if the actual purchase is higher than the standard, means that you already overspend for the company. You spend more money for the company.